Hello and welcome back to the Villa Filler podcast. I'm here as always with my good friend Dan Wiseman. Dan, Aston Villa 1, Crystal Palace 1. First of all, mate, how are you doing?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. I was really looking forward to today's game. Been a busy period for me at work and everything like that. And I was looking forward to seeing the Villa boys and everything that was going on at Villa Park today and everything like that. So, been looking forward to this one. And it was all in all, it wasn't too bad, was it? Everything that went on before the game was amazing. It looked incredible, and so that was all very nice, mate. Put a smile on my face.
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure, it was nice that the club used Villa Park in a way that we just haven't in a while. You know, having the flags, having a nice tifo on the whole end. I think if you guys probably won't have seen, but Dortmund's final Bundesliga game yesterday, they had all sorts of tifos going on for like Marcel Schmelzer and Erling Haaland and a load of the departing players, which could be perceived as a little bit tin pop, but it sure as hell looked really cool. And I was saying the same pre-match, mate, to my dad before. Like, obviously, I completely understand the issues that come with like using pyros and stuff like that, but man, like that Liverpool end at Wembley yesterday looked absolutely fantastic at full time, mate, didn't it? Like, we need to do more stuff to, first of all, improve the atmosphere of Villa Park. I think to make it a destination that I think people and away fans as well will feel intimidated by coming to. And I get the argument that the players have to give us something to cheer about, but regardless of what's going on the pitch, we should be cheering 100% behind the boys, making noise, doing all sorts, shouldn't we, mate? But that's where I stand on it, at least.
Yeah, 100%, mate. 100%. Like, I always I look to Scotland on stuff like this, man, and like particularly Rangers. And obviously, I know they've done it on European nights, but you look at Ibrox has put them in that, and obviously it's quite topical with Gerrard and everything. Like, Ibrox has put them in that European final, mate. Like, every team that has come to Ibrox has left like a shadow of the team that 100%. It's impossible to go and play there. I think like Leipzig. Tedesco said that their manager was like, I've never played in a stadium like that before. And you sort of like Ibrox, it was actually designed by the same architects, like same one that did Ibrox, designed Villa Park. There's a lot of similarities between the two stadiums. And, you know, Scott, friend of the podcast, who's a good friend of mine, who's a Rangers fan, I've been saying to him for a long time, like, we have the tools. Like, you look at the Holte end and everything like that, and you think we don't make the most of that. And as you say, mate, you haven't got a set of flares and smoke bombs and everything like that. Like, all Rangers do, it's like tifos, it's the little cards and everything like that everyone holds up. And I'm not saying that, like, yeah, right, obviously it's a bit different, but they're doing it in like European semi-finals and like what we're going to do it at home to like Watford. Like, yeah, it's different. But like, you can look in the Premier League and look at how St James's have done it, and the flags and what they've made of St James's Park since the club feels rejuvenated. It's a scary place to go now. Like, now, like it's become a place where like teams don't want to go. It was talked about as like one of the big stumbling blocks that Liverpool had in their title run, and was their trip to St James's a few weeks ago. Arsenal go there next. Everyone's talking about how that's a big deal for that. You know, that could dent their top four hopes. It's completely changed, and it's the atmosphere of the stadium, and we have this fantastic ground. And I don't think we use it enough. And, you know, you've got to shout out guys like Project B6 and everything they're doing over there, because they do a fantastic job with, you know, I imagine, I don't know, but, you know, it seems pretty strict on what the club will allow and won't allow, but they do very well with what they can. But yeah, I think with the support of the club, hopefully we can make things like today a bit different, because, I mean, whilst the Villa boys didn't exactly prove it today, it makes it feel like you're sort of obliged to win. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
It sort of makes you feel like you see this amazing thing going on and you're like, right, you have to win this game now. And it sort of creates an air of like, we can't go and lose. And so obviously I know that today wasn't the best performance and everything like that, but I dare say that, I mean, even without all that, if you didn't go on before the game, maybe it's different. But yeah, we don't use Villa Park to full potential, 100%.
For sure, we need to make that atmosphere better. And Newcastle's a scary place because you can go and you could legitimately get your hand cut off by the owners, but that's a completely different story. Before we get into the rest of this podcast, guys, we've got a message from today's video sponsor. This video is sponsored by the wonderful guys over at OneFootball. It is the place to get all of the most up-to-date football news, scores, articles, live updates. You couldn't ask for more. Dan, we use this app every single day. of our lives, and they've been kind enough to sponsor us here at the Villa Fillet again.
Yeah, it powers the podcast, mate. It's my go-to place for live scores, stats, and news from 200 leagues, 12 different languages. It's got the lot, mate.
So, guys, if you check out OneFootball using the link in the top of the description, it'll help us out, it'll help you guys out, and it'll help you just enjoy the game that little bit more. Be like Dan and I, download OneFootball. So, guys, if you haven't checked out OneFootball, make sure you do so using the top link in the description. Dan, a few curveballs thrown our way with the lineup initially, as it looked like Ollie Watkins would not make the game. There was reports he would be out injured. Obviously, he played, he scored. Great performance from Ollie. I think he may be a bit frustrated himself because there was probably another goal or two in this game for him, if we're being brutally honest, mate, with the chances that we did create. No JJ as well, which is something we discussed in the preview, but he came on and I thought we looked better for coming on. I think, there are instances. I don't think we expected Palace to sit as deep as they did, Dan, first of all. And there was a bit of a personnel, not a personnel check, but they played a three at the back, which certainly wasn't expected, mate, which I guess is the ultimate compliment if teams are coming to Villa Park and playing a 5-3-2, sorry. I couldn't get my head around that, mate. But they kind of had Kouyaté sitting in deep, didn't they? I only really noticed that in the second half. Correct me if I'm wrong, mate. If that had happened earlier, and it kind of made things a bit difficult to break down in this game. So bringing JJ on in the second half, someone who's a willing runner and will drive at the heart of a defence, was a great decision for me, because at times it just felt like our midfield really struggled a little bit to penetrate the lines. And it's not necessarily that they were, playing a low block or they were sitting particularly deep. It was just the sheer amount of bodies around the ball, mate, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Palace are aside, and I sort of waxed lyrical about them in the preview, and I'm a big fan of what Vieira's done there, and he's created a real identity, and they set up a very good press. And they basically trapped us in for the first half. Like, we really struggled to get out of that. We resorted to sort of long balls over the top for Ollie and everything like that. And look, like, I'm not like that. There's a time and a place for that strategy, and it's worked for us in the past. And Ollie is very good at running in and timing those runs. He's not the quickest player in the world, and the only problem we have with that strategy is that he's not very good one-on-one. He can't really shimmy or beat a man and take it round. Like, he's not that kind of player. So often we sort of play it over the top for him, and then you have to wait for others to catch up with him, and he brings them into play and everything like that. So he's we sort of, and as I said, I'm not opposed to that, because as I said, it's a useful weapon in our arsenal, but it was about all we had. And that was the problem. I think the fullbacks did a better job of it in the second half, but I think when we're playing these narrow formations, they're responsible for providing the width, and they struggled to get up the pitch. And Palace did a really good job of penning them back. And whilst it wasn't a disastrous performance or anything like that, we've certainly seen worse halves from the Villa this season. It just felt a bit like it did a few games ago. And I was hoping we'd sort of come out of that and we'd put in some good performances recently, but it didn't really feel like we were continuing to make steps in the right direction. It felt a little bit like, the Arsenal game and at points in the Norwich game and stuff like that. It just felt a little bit slow, a little bit leggy, a little bit lethargic. And look, we're coming to the end of the season. No doubt these boys are tired and everything like that. And, Palace are a very good team. As I said, they pressed very well. But yeah, it just felt a little bit. And look, we played an incredibly hard game on Tuesday. And so, it's like we've played already a very tough 90 minutes this week. And obviously that comes into account. But it just felt like we took a step backwards today.
Yeah, and it feels... It's funny. I think the whole season, mate, I know I have certainly spent saying if Danny Ings was in this situation, some of these goal scoring situations that he'd get and he'd score. It's funny because on the Tuesday, I think it's fair to say Danny shot the bed against Liverpool, didn't he? He had a few really decent chances. I don't want to say they weren't really chances, were they? But there was instances balls were in the box, balls were played to feet. one or two heavy touches inside the box, which is not something you really associate with Danny Ings, is it? And I'm not. This isn't a criticism, by the way, because it happens. You have these bad days, but that's probably the only time I think I've gone and thought, do you know what? Actually, I think Ollie Watkins would have probably done better in that situation. But there's a gilt edged chance from Ings early on, mate. There's some really lovely interplay with like Coutinho and Dean on the left, comes into Watkins, little flick, just curls that one literally inches wide of the post again. Something he did only on Tuesday night. What have we done to Danny Ings? What is this football club? We've got blood on our hands, mate. We genuinely do. But I thought he was great. Again, I'm not a huge fan of the two up front system because we have to. I hate to be that guy because everybody's that guy. But if everybody's saying it, then surely that there is some sense to it. You have to play Emi Buendia. You have to figure out how to get Emi Buendia and Philippe Coutinho in the side long term. Somebody's going to be unhappy, okay? But it being the £40 million signing, mate, the record transfer fee. I don't really know if that sits right with me. I don't know.
It's really difficult, mate, because like any one of those four feels really, really hard, to leave them out. Feels uncomfortable, doesn't it? Ollie's on the bench. Danny's especially Danny's played pretty well recently. And okay, yeah, Liverpool wasn't his finest hour, but he was fantastic against Burnley and stuff like that. So yeah, that's the problem now. But we have to be uncomfortable with these sorts of things. I mean, the top sides do it all the time. I mean, every week, Liverpool have to leave one of Firmino, Jota, Salah or Mane on the bench. Every week, one of those players sits out. And it's like, that's just the nature of when you're trying to break into this top, is that you develop a squad. And with that, there's going to be, hopefully, a lot more than 11 players that deserve to play on any given day. And I think you ultimately have to decide what's best for the team. And we have to stick with that. And look, to be honest with you, I feel sorry for Coutinho because I don't really think his performance has dropped. I just think he's operating in different areas now. I mean, when he came in, he seemed to be in and around the 18-yard box all the time. He was never like everything that he was doing. It was 20, 25 yards out. It was linking play in between the lines. He was getting himself, making late runs into the box, scoring goals like he did against United and stuff like that, popping up on the penalty spot. We're just not seeing that now. I think as this team has sort of slowed down towards the end of the season, he's sort of been dragged further and further back into the midfield, and he just gets lost in there. It's not his game to be playing like especially against a side like Palace in that sort of rugged, tough midfield, in those battles where Dougie and Marv lost out. He just gets lost in there, and that's not his game. And we need to. I think Gerrard's biggest challenge this summer is nothing to do with transfers. It's nothing to do with players coming in. It's working with what we've got and finding a place for everybody to be able to play their best football, because we have to get Coutinho into this side. We've made him permanent. He will be a starter next season, 100%. There is a number like
whether he deserves to or not.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Like he's the profile. He's the big name. He's coming in from Barcelona on the account that he's going to play football. He will be a starter next season. There's no two ways about it, right or wrong. Whether he deserves that spot. Well, hopefully we don't have to have that debate between the two of them. That's my whole point. Is that Gerrard? I genuinely think Gerrard's biggest challenge this summer, is working Buendia, Coutinho, and I think, let's face it, Ings or Watkins. I don't think you're right. I like long-term 38 game season. Is it going to be those two boys with one of them playing out wide or playing it up front? I don't think so. I haven't seen enough for it to make me believe that that's going to carry us over a period of a whole Premier League season. I don't know. So yeah, I think that's the biggest test this summer, mate.
It is. It's going to be. There's Leon, there's Bertie, there's all sorts, and whether these players have futures at the club, of course, we don't know. But the decision to bring Ings off was vindicated. Not that it had to be anyway, but Ollie gets the goal beforehand, so naturally you keep the goal scorer on. I think that's just the politics that go with that. It's going to be interesting, mate. As you say, again, it's a task that I wouldn't want to be tasked with. And Ollie takes the goal really well. And when you look at without analysing the goal, because it just bundles in off him and Gay. I want to analyse the celebration, Dan, because here at the Villa Filler we pride ourselves on analysis that is just the absolute best in the game, right? That's what you guys come here for. Pointing to the ground, beating the chest, pointing to the ground, embracing, come on, everybody, make them, let's fucking get the noise going. But it puts to bed any of this Ollie to West Ham stuff. And I think just to remain completely transparent, just to ensure that, you guys are all on the same page with our thoughts here. Watkins has frustrated me incredibly throughout the season, but it's not because I don't rate him. It's because I know that there's so much more to come from him. And, again, like with the Matty Cash video we did, mate, when he's linked to Atletico Madrid, would I sell him to Atletico Madrid for £40 million? Absolutely. But I want this guy to, I want us to build teams around these players. I want Matty Cash to be a Villa player because I thought he had a really good game today, mate. I thought the fullbacks were excellent. And the same goes for Ollie. Somebody offers 60 million plus. Thank you for the memories, Ollie. Thank you for the goals. I'll see you later. We'll go and find another player. We'll play Ings. We'll bring another number 9 in. We'll do whatever. If he stays, I'm equally as buzzing, mate, because it's about as good as you can get, really, isn't it? Unless Villa can go out and get a Darwin Núñez, which is somebody who we spoke about probably a few months back now, mate. Which, if we're being realistic, mate, isn't going to happen. Like, if it ain't broke, it don't need fixing. It is broke, but we need the solutions in house. Okay, that's my point.
Yeah, well, you make a good point. Like, seriously, that solves a problem. Like let's have it out right now. Somewhat West Ham, 50, 60 million on the table for Ollie Watkins, and he does get sold. That headache that I was just talking about just got a whole lot easier, because then you go, okay, Danny's your number.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And so it's like you have to be sensible. And I would say the same for like Leon and stuff like that. Like these guys aren't all going to be able to work into one team. So like if clubs are going to put big money on the table, you got to look at it, because it's like it's a headache right now for the club, and all it's doing is damaging our assets. Ollie is fine, but like you look at guys like Leon Bailey, and if a return to Germany came on the cards for about what we paid for him, it would break my heart, mate. It would break my heart. Honestly, it would, because we haven't seen the best of him. And he's going to go and ball out wherever he goes next. And he's going to have a super high ceiling. He's going to meet that potential. He's going to be fantastic wherever he goes, especially if it's a league where he knows best. But that's not to say that, like, realistically, based on what I've seen this season, it's going to be difficult for us to, because we know that Gerrard wants to play these tight wingers. It's not his signing. Like, we can clearly see he's signed Coutinho on a permanently. That's the kind of player that he's like looking at to, like, okay, we can operate. I mean, like, they're so different, those two players. So it's like if bids come in that we can entertain, that are a value we like, I think we have to genuinely like start looking at it. And I think I talked a long time ago, mate, about I think there's going to be a few uncomfortable sales in this summer. And I think again, I mean, John McGinn's performance wasn't the best again today. And he said himself, like, he did an interview with Sky Sports. He was saying that, like, look, I'll go away with Scotland. I play a lot higher up. So I've got that game. That's clearly where he's best. And so, like, but we seemingly can't give him that. And like, we're not going to play like 8-10s in this formation. That's not really how it's going to be. So it's like, can we give John that? Maybe not. So it's like I said, mate, and I think it still rings true that maybe this summer there are going to be a few uncomfortable sales, one that we don't particularly want to make, but maybe they're in the interest of the club.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that front, mate. We'll have to wait and see. But on today's game, you look, I'm gutted. I am. I think it's 2 points dropped, absolutely. But I think 10 games ago, do we escape this with even a point? Probably not. Palace changed things up. I thought after the goal, we applied sustained pressure for about 10 minutes, and then Palace really grew into it. They obviously made the 3 substitutions: Schlupp, Big Chris, and obviously Edouard, who's someone, again, we mentioned in the preview. And the momentum just ended up swinging their way. It's a shame, because after they score, again, we're going Hail Mary, everything we can, balls up to the whole end. And I think, we were probably, if we'd have won that game, I don't think it would have been an unfair result, to be perfectly honest. Let us know what you think about that in the comments, guys. I do think we could have got more from this game, but John McGinn, that all kind of led, it's all convoluted way to talk about John McGinn again, mate. I thought the way he battled with Wilfried Zaha is fantastic. That's the kind of tenacity, the the energy, the application that I want to see when you come up against a whiny little bitch like Wilfried Zaha. It's always going to happen, And it's okay, mate. Villa drew this game, but Palace won because we all called Zaha a cunt. So they've got their points on the board for that one. But these are the kind of games that they can become very complicated. They can, and I know we beat Palace early in the season. We battered them at home last season, but very often these are the banana skins, mate. The ones where a team sat in for so long and held on for so long, and then all of a sudden, they get the goal, and that's completely taken away. The rug's been pulled from underneath you, and you have to really, go soul searching to try and either stay in the game or go and get a winner. I'm impressed with the response. I am impressed with the response. It's a shame, obviously, Ezri gets injured. Chambers comes on. Chambers does fine. He hasn't done anything wrong, but obviously, ideally, that's a sub you don't want to have to make. So you've got another attacking sub left. You want to, help that momentum go to your way. When you're chasing the game, maybe bring another attacker on or another midfield substitution. But I'm gutted we didn't win. I really am. But it's a point gained, and that's the thing. This is exactly what we said in the preview, mate. Crystal Palace, 15 draws now this season. 15 draws. They're very good value for a 1-1 every single time. It's going to happen, and ultimately, they're now a point ahead of us in the table. We'll obviously see how things pan out with the final two games, but that performance from Crystal Palace should be, in at least in the back of our minds for quite a while over the summer, and thinking we really need to make Villa a side that's going to be tough to beat next season, because if we had half the amount of draws they had, we're 7th, 8th.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, mate. I mean, that is a case in point. Like, if we want to take ourselves seriously next season, we have to win these kind of games. That's the long and short of it. And there's a few sort of results that you can look at this season, and you think, mate, if we'd taken 6 points off Watford, if we'd have won those two games, which feels absolutely criminal to have lost, we'd be on 50 points right now, and we'd be 9th with a game in hand on Wolves, on 51 in 8th. So it's like, these are the margins, mate. Like, our season generally, like, it feels like it's been really downhill and it's been really bad and it's been a real step back for the club. But like, if you look at the numbers, it's genuinely not as bad as it seems. Like, genuinely, if we'd have picked up a few more points across the course of the season, if we'd have won today, if we'd, as I said, beaten Watford, which we like, I still can't believe that, that they've beaten us both times. There's so many games like that over the season where, okay, like, if we'd not lost in the manner we did at St. James's, there's so many games like that, isn't there, mate? Like, you go back and even into the Dean Smith era, there's plenty of games like that. Like, you tweak these fine margins in an inconsistent league like the Premier League, you'd be surprised how far you can go. Like, we don't in terms of the squad, like, it's actually been a decent season, but it's just these fine margins that let us down. And I think that's what's the difference, isn't it? Like, next season,
yeah,
hopefully.
For sure. But and as you say, mate, that's something that they've got to work on over the summer. Hopefully, we can come back a much more consistent side. But guys, there's still 2 games left, still all to play for. Unfortunately, it seems like Villa are on the beach. Ezri Konsa will certainly be on the beach now. He's been ruled out for the remainder of the season. So more life to you, Ezri. Enjoy that. Enjoy your holiday. You've definitely earned it, mate. And yeah, guys, we'll be back with a Burnley preview in the coming days. Make sure you like, make sure you comment, make sure you subscribe, make sure you check out OneFootball. Up the Villa.